Today I want to talk about The Little Mermaid. Now, it was released on Friday and seems to be doing quite well at the American box office, but I don't think it's doing as good as they'd hoped, especially overseas, and I think they are in a little bit of damage control. Now, Disney at the moment aren't having a great time. A lot of things are going wrong with them, so they really need this movie to be a hit. And judging by the amount of damage control that the media is spinning on this movie, I don't think it's going to make as much money as Disney is hoping. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these articles, I'm just going to read little bits here and there. This one from Deadline. The Little Mermaid splashes to 164 million global bow, but there's something fishy overseas, as Disney pick beset by review bombing. Because of course it is, it's always review bombing. It's never a poor film, it's review bombing. According to mainstream media like this, Disney can do no wrong. Any film they put out has to be fantastic, and if it's not, if the audience don't agree, if it doesn't make its money back, it's review bombing, it's racism, it's sexism, it's whatever Islamophobic, bigot word they want to put out of the hat. And each time they do it, it becomes less meaningful and nobody cares. You are going to get actual racists on the internet spouting things, but for how many they aren't going to negatively impact the overall takings of a movie, especially a family movie aimed at family audiences. But once again, just 3 days after it was released, the damage control is being wheeled out. And it is the obvious control which they are wheeling out. It happens all the time. It happens so much, in fact, that on Twitter, MasteroftheTDS has made a fan-blaming bingo. Not just for this movie, he has used it for lots of movies, TV shows, because it's the same excuses they make all the time. You've got stuff on it like, you're just toxic fans, you don't like strong women, you're just racist, only straight white males hate it. It's exactly the defence and comments that get wheeled out constantly by the mainstream media. Master of the TDS does have a YouTube channel. It is Gothic Therapy. I would recommend going to check it out. It is a great channel. I will leave a link for it in the description along with his Twitter page. So in this article about review bombing, you have here Disney live action Little Mermaid is doing swimmingly at domestic box office with a 3-day opening of 95.5 million and a 4-day projection of 117.5 million. Factoring in the international box office bout of 68.3 million, that makes for an estimated 163.8 million global debut on Sunday. The offshore launch is lower than hoped for coming into the frame, but it bears noting that there was something fishy going on in the overseas markets, with so-called review bombing in areas such as France, Korea, Germany and beyond. While the Rob Marshall directed update has a 95% verified audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, I will get to that later in the video. Film ratings on websites overseas, including IMDb in the UK, Brazil and Mexico, as well as Alicante in France, posted advisories during the rollout when negative user reviews appeared in questionable abundance. And here is an article on that. The Little Mermaid is being review bombed, but IMDb is taking action. It's not that people haven't gone to see this film and have disliked it because they didn't think it was a good film. They haven't disliked it because it's another soulless cash grab live action remake of a beloved animated classic which will no doubt do the story a hell of a lot better than what this will. No, it's just negative review bombing because we can't have anything bad said against this film. The article does say, while these sites are usually more reactive in their response than proactive, it appears that they have been more on top of minimising review bombing and potentially harmful reviews on sites. As first reported by Deadline, a French movie review site wrote on the day of the movie's launch, "We are currently observing an unusual distribution of scores which demands the need for caution. We encourage you to make up your own minds about this film." Now that last line there, I will 100% agree with. Make your own mind up about the film. Don't listen to what other people say, don't listen to what critics say. The only person that's going to decide if you like a film or not is you. I've liked loads of films which apparently are terrible. I own the original Super Mario Bros. On Blu-ray. I own Howard the Duck on DVD. I love both of those movies. They aren't the only two bad movies I like, but they are two examples. Same as there is critically acclaimed movies loved by everyone, which I don't like. We all have different tastes, so that line there of making your own mind up about the film, I 100% agree with. Furthermore, IMDb issued a warning on their American, Canadian, British, Brazilian and Mexican sites that read, "Our rating mechanism has detected unusual voting activity on this title. To preserve the reliability of our rating system, an alternative weighting calculation has been applied." So it sounds like they are changing the rules for this film, much like Rotten Tomatoes changed its rules to protect Captain Marvel. Now, in my opinion, Captain Marvel wasn't that bad of a film. It was a good film, and I've described it many times of it's just bland. If it was a colour, it would be beige. There's just nothing to the movie. As well as this, IMDb further elaborated on how their aggregate numbers are generated and how the site settles on its final rating. Although we accept and consider all votes received by users, not all votes have the same impact or weight on the final rating. When unusual voting activity is detected, an alternative weighting calculation may be applied in order to preserve the reliability of our system. So essentially what I'm taking from this is we're not going to count all the negative reviews. If it was review bombed in a positive way, I'm sure they all would count. But now on to Rotten Tomatoes. As you can see, the critic score is a 68% fresh and the audience score is 95%, which is the scores you see as soon as you come onto the site. But if you go behind these, you will find that is all critics 68%, but just taking the top critics, which is what Rotten Tomatoes usually likes to do when top critics give glowing reviews of movies, that is 47% rotten. Audience is verified audience, however if you go to all audience, that is 56%. Now that is a big difference between the verified and all audience and between the all critics and top critics. Now I do think the actual rating between these will be somewhere in the middle. So Rotten Tomatoes are clearly running out the best possible scores they can to protect this movie. Over on Collider, The Little Mermaid tops domestic box office as Fast X runs out of gas. Now, Fast X was always going to have a drop-off this week. It's the second week out, most movies do. But it's the headline, Fast X runs out of gas, making it seem that its cinema run is pretty much over after 1 week. Now, this is just domestic box office. Fast X is doing extremely well in international box office. And while I can't see Fast X going on for a very long time, I can see it having some legs to keep on going. Will Little Mermaid get this type of headline next week if that drops off? It's its second week, so you'd expect it to drop off when Sony's Spider-Man comes out, because that is another family film and it's a newer film, so more people will want to go see that. From next week, Little Mermaid will be looking for repeat views and people who didn't go see it on the first weekend, and I don't think it's going to get those views. Now here it says Fast X is already slowing down at the domestic box office. The 10th instalment in the long-running action franchise debuted with a soft 67 million last weekend, and it appears to be continuing the series' downward spiral stateside. Fast X dropped by a huge 66% in weekend 2, grossing 23 million. The film is expected to make 28 million across the extended 4-day weekend, taking its domestic run to 113 million. However, a little further down, it does say globally, Fast X has crossed 500 million mark, but still trails the franchise's biggest hits Furious 7 and Fate of the Furious, both which gross more than $1 billion. Will Fast X hit $1 billion? I don't know. It might. People do seem to love these movies, but worldwide it's crossed the 500 million mark now, which is after a week, so I wouldn't exactly say it is dramatically slowing down, but it's got to paint the picture that Little Mermaid is doing so much better than what it actually is. And then we have this one from The Guardian. The Little Mermaid hooks audiences with a whale of an opening weekend. And there is just this one little bit on here that I want to mention, which isn't even really about Little Mermaid. The article does say the same thing as the others about how well it is doing over the weekend, but it also tells you some of the others which are doing well this weekend. Obviously, the top spot went to Little Mermaid, which was expected. Fast 10 was knocked into the second spot, which it's his second week. Again, expected. In his fourth weekend, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is in the number 3 spot, which is still doing well. But here, the fourth spot went to Universal's Super Mario Bros. Movie, which keeps reaching new levels in its 8th weekend, and also available to rent on video on demand, and it still earned 6.3 million in theatres. And this is where I think the problem for the mainstream media is coming from. The Mario Brothers movie has done so well this year, and Disney just has nothing at the moment to combat it. The live action Little Mermaid, I don't think is doing as well as they hoped, because there's review bombing overseas apparently, and Mario Brothers is still taking money now. It's only 6.3 million it's taken in its fourth weekend in America, but it's been out for 8 weeks, and it's also on video demand, so not many people are going to be going to see it now, but it is still taking the family audience money, which Disney and the mainstream media are absolutely hating that this movie has done so well, and they need Disney to get back on track, and they are covering all bases for damage control and deflection what they can. I do think we will see a lot more of these articles defending the Little Mermaid and trying to make people think it is doing a lot better than what it is over the next couple of weeks until the new Disney Pixar movie comes out. And again, we'll see these types of defences wheeled out for that movie because it is another Disney project, and Disney are taking too many hits at the moment, and the media has just got to keep defending it because that's what the media does. But what do you guys think about all these articles? Do you think the review bombing is real? Do you think it is just because the movie is not very good? Do let me know in the comments below. And that's all from me. I want to make a fresh cup of tea.